On a quiet street where the mornings always seemed predictable, something quietly extraordinary had been unfolding long before anyone fully understood it. It began on a day that looked like any other. Cool air, soft sunlight, the usual rhythm of a neighborhood waking up, but destiny often hides inside the most ordinary moments. And on that morning, a single father named Daniel found himself kneeling beside the wheelchair of a woman he had never met, tightening a loose strap so she could safely make it across the street. He believed it was nothing more than a passing gesture, a simple act of courtesy exchanged between strangers who would likely never cross paths again. But life, in its quiet and mysterious way, had already begun stitching his mornings into hers long before he realized it, and what she would eventually reveal to him, on a morning he never could have anticipated, would shape both their lives in ways neither of them ever imagined. Before we continue deeper into their story, if you believe in kindness and second chances and in the power of seemingly small good deeds, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. It genuinely helps these stories reach more hearts. Every morning at exactly 7:40 a.m., Daniel walked his 10-year-old daughter Lily to school. It was a routine he treasured more than he admitted out loud. Lily's chatter, her jokes, her questions about the world. They were pieces of warmth he carried with him long after he dropped her off. Raising her alone hadn't been easy, not since losing his wife 3 years earlier. Her absence still echoed through their home, in the quiet moments especially, but being Lily's dad had given Daniel purpose. She was the anchor that steadied him, the reminder that even in loss, life could keep moving gently forward. One morning, as they approached the pharmacy on the corner, Daniel noticed a woman struggling near the curb. She appeared to be around his age, maybe a little younger. Her blonde hair was curled softly around her face, though strands clung to her forehead as she attempted to maneuver her wheelchair over a shallow incline. Her right knee sat braced beneath a support strap, her posture tense and deliberate as she forced the chair forward. Without hesitation, Daniel asked Lily to wait beside him and stepped over to help. He steadied her chair, adjusted the brake, and eased her wheels down the small slope so she could cross safely. She thanked him in a quiet voice, gentle but weary, and he simply nodded. He didn't ask for her story. He didn't expect to see her again. To him, it was just the right thing to do. But the very next morning, she was there again at nearly the exact same spot, and again the next day, and then the next. Slowly, without either of them acknowledging it aloud, the moment became part of their shared routine. Each morning, Daniel would walk Lily across the crosswalk, wait for her to reach the other side, and then rush back to assist the woman, lifting her small pharmacy bags, adjusting her footplates, or simply offering a few encouraging words to start her day. Some mornings she greeted him with a soft smile. Other days she looked exhausted, as though the weight of her circumstances pressed harder on those particular mornings. But she was always there, and Daniel found himself planning his time around that brief encounter. He didn't know her name. He didn't know why she was in a wheelchair. He didn't know where she was going or what hardships she carried. But helping her became a quiet thread that tied the start of his day together. Lily noticed, too. She would stand off to the side, her hands folded behind her back, her smile patient and unbothered. She never complained. She never rushed him. She simply understood, perhaps better than most grown-ups, that her father's heart operated on compassion, and that stop and help someone was just what he did. Then came the rainy morning when everything changed. The streets were slick, the sky low and gray, and the wind carried a faint sting. As the woman approached the curb, her wheel caught on a crack in the pavement. Her chair jolted sharply, tilting just enough that fear flashed across her face before she could hide it. Daniel reacted instantly. He steadied the chair, braced her arm, and held on until her breathing slowed. For a moment, their hands remained linked longer than either expected, a silent acknowledgement of how vulnerable she had felt. She thanked him again, barely more than a whisper, and he stepped back. But something inside him shifted. The fragility of her situation settled into him more deeply, and he found himself thinking about her long after she had rolled away. Weeks slipped by. The trees shifted from summer green to autumn gold. The air grew crisp, and their unspoken routine remained. Some days she seemed stronger. Some days her movements looked strained. But she never missed a morning. And then came the Friday morning that altered everything. The sun had just crested over the roofs when she asked, in a small but steady voice, if he could wait a moment before leaving. Daniel paused, curious but unaware of the magnitude of what was coming. Lily, sensing something important, stayed quietly at his side. The woman looked up at him, her eyes softer than he'd ever seen them, carrying a mixture of gratitude and something deeper, something like vulnerability. When she spoke, her voice trembled as though the words had been sitting in her heart for a long time, waiting for the courage to surface. She told him she knew exactly who he was. Daniel felt confusion flicker across his expression. Before he could respond, she continued with a story he was not prepared to hear. She explained that 3 years earlier, on the night Daniel lost his wife, the emergency response team included her younger brother. He had returned home shaken, emotionally drained in a way she had rarely seen. That night, he told her about a man standing in the wreckage, holding his little girl tightly while whispering promises into her hair. Promises that he would protect her. Promises that he would somehow keep her world from falling apart even as his own heart was breaking. Her brother told her he had never seen a father fight so hard to be strong for his child in a moment when any person would have collapsed. The story stayed with her, etched into her memory. But what she never imagined, what she still could hardly believe, was that the father from her brother's story was the same man who had been helping her every morning, without hesitation, without expectation, without ever knowing who she was. Daniel stood completely still, the world around him seeming to pause. Shock, confusion, and something like quiet grief washed through him all at once. Lily stepped closer, her small hand brushing against his, as though she could sense the heaviness settling over him. The woman continued, her voice soft but steady. She explained that months earlier she had suffered a spinal injury that left her questioning everything, her independence, her purpose, her strength. She had felt helpless, discouraged, and often invisible. Most days, even getting out of bed, had felt like a battle she wasn't sure she wanted to fight. But then Daniel showed up, not once, not twice, but every single morning, not because anyone asked him to, not because he expected anything in return, but because helping another human being was simply part of who he was. She told him that his consistency, his gentleness, and his refusal to treat her as a burden had become the thing she looked forward to when she woke up. Watching him care for his daughter with such devotion reminded her that life could still hold meaning, even when it felt broken. Seeing him offer kindness without needing a reason gave her strength she hadn't been able to find on her own. Then she said the words that hit deepest. She told him he was the reason she started physical therapy again, that on mornings when she wanted to give up, she thought of him, of the man who showed up for strangers the same way he showed up for his daughter. She told him his kindness had changed her life without him realizing it, that he had reminded her she wasn't alone, that she still mattered, and that hope could grow quietly from the smallest gestures. Daniel felt tears rise, something he almost never allowed in public. He blinked them back, but the emotion was too real, too heavy, too honest to hide. For the first time in a long time, he realized that even in his grief, even the quiet ache he carried, he had still managed to be someone's source of strength. He had still brought light to someone else's darkest days. The morning sun stretched across the pavement, pale and soft, casting a gentle glow over the three of them. For a long moment, none of them spoke. They simply stood there, connected by loss, by resilience, and by the unexpected power of kindness. What began as a simple gesture had rippled into something far larger than any of them could have foreseen. If this story touched your heart, even a little, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Your support helps bring more real stories of compassion and humanity to the world, and it allows these messages of hope to reach people who may need them most. Before we close, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever helped someone without knowing how much it meant to them? Or has someone helped you in a way that changed your life more than they realized? In the end, Daniel walked Lily to school with a lighter heart. The conversation lingered with him in a way nothing had in a long time. He realized that sometimes the smallest actions echo far beyond the moment. Sometimes the people we help end up carrying pieces of our own story. And sometimes, without intending to, we become part of someone's healing. Thank you for watching Everyday Heroes.